ties in with this. A couple of days ago, I was putting together some furniture at the house, and I had some screws that I needed to put into this furniture, and they were Phillips head screws. So I opened up my toolbox. Which tool would you imagine I pulled out? Phillips head screwdriver, right? Now, the reason I pulled that particular screwdriver out is because it's the perfect tool for that job. Now, a Phillips head screwdriver is not a perfect tool. It can't do every job, right? But it can do that job really well. If I have to cut some fabric, what's the right tool for the job? Pair of scissors, right? Is a pair of scissors perfect for everything? Can you use them for grilling? No, but they're perfect for that job. Karen's tried. Everybody, let's be extra concerned for Karen, okay? She needs a lot more prayer than we realize. She tries to grill with scissors. No, the pair of scissors is perfect for cutting fabric. When the Bible says that God's trying to present us perfect, here's the idea. Each one of us is God's workmanship. Ephesians 2:10, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand so that we would walk in them. That's Ephesians 2:10. In other words, when you're being sanctified, when you're becoming more like Jesus, when you're growing as a Christian, you're not going to look the same way as the people around you do, because God's preparing you. He's making you perfect for the life that he's calling you to lead. Just like a Phillips head screwdriver is good for Phillips head screws and not for cutting fabric, God's making you perfect for the very jobs he has for you to do in this life. And you're not going to be perfect for the things I'm supposed to do, and I'm not going to be perfect for the things you're supposed to do, but as you grow closer to Jesus, you will become more and more perfect, more and more completely fitted for the tasks and the service that God has for you to perform. And that includes your spiritual gifts. And a lot of that flows through your personality. So how do we break some of this stuff down? Well, let me give you a little illustration here, and I'm going to change the lights. What I'm going to do, let's do that one. Can you guys see better there? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 45 seconds. Start with the number 1 and work your way up as high as you can, okay? You got 45 seconds. On your mark, get set, go. You got 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, somebody give me your highest number. What did you get up to? What did you get? 19. 16, 17. Did anybody beat 19? 21. Wow, that's impressive. Did anybody beat 21? All right, so Carolyn's our champion. Now, it's kind of difficult when you have to go at random, right? But let me show you how this actually works. If you break it into 4 quadrants, what you're going to find is that the numbers, starting in the top left quadrant, number 2 is in the top right, number 3 is in the bottom right, number 4 is in the bottom left, and it keeps going. Number 5 comes back up to the top left, and then you've got number 6, and so on and so forth. So this time, I'm going to give you 20 seconds, less than half the same amount of time, and I want you to see how far you can go this time. On your mark, get set, go. 3, 2, and 1. Okay. How did we do this time? A little bit better. 26? Okay. 32. Did anybody beat 32? Wow, Rick got it this time. Good job. Yeah, just keep going around the circle, right? So here's the idea. Here's the idea. When you can pick up on the pattern, even with less than half the same amount of time, you can get further because you know what to look for. You know where precisely to kind of focus your eyes. All we're going to do tonight in looking at your DiSC stuff is we're going to show you some of the things about yourself that are like, okay, I can focus in on this. This is something I'm good at, or this is something I struggle with. I'm also going to teach you how to sum up another person in about 5 minutes. Okay? Now, and I'm gonna tell you this up front. I've seen some people take this information and use it for their own gain so they can manipulate people, and that's not our goal, right? Honestly, this can be very powerful stuff. You can learn how other people are wired, and our goal in learning these things is so that we can love them, not so we can use them, right? Now, let's hop right in. So, Psalm 139:14. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Let me remind you, brothers and sisters, that is not just talking about your physical body, even though that was knit together by God in your mother's womb. That's also talking about all of you, including your personality, including the way that you're wired. So DiSC was started by a guy named William Marston. He's kind of a fascinating character in history. He was the creator of the Wonder Woman comic. Does anybody like the Wonder Woman movies with Gal Gadot? Okay, so he created all of that. He also came up with the polygraph. And he came up with the polygraph and kind of implemented that. And he also wrote a personality test. And so he was kind of an eclectic individual. He's the guy that's really behind a lot of this. Now, the version I'm going to teach you tonight, I know all of you took the free Tony Robbins DiSC test. That's the best one out there that's free, in my humble opinion. What we're going to look at tonight is not a free version. This is something I'm licensed to teach through the John Maxwell Company. Has anybody heard of John Maxwell? Okay, a couple of you have. He's a world-renowned leadership expert. And a few years ago, I got licensed to teach some of this content. This is something that typically people have to pay for. So you're going to get to take a little bit of a deeper dive than what you got in the Tony Robbins one. So I hope this is helpful for you on that front. Now let's take a look at how DiSC works, all right? So you see here that you have the D is dominant, I is influencing, S stands for steady, and C stands for compliant. We'll unpack all of those in a little bit. Now, if you want to just get a quick idea of where you are, even if you didn't take this test, let me give you the first couple of markers. D's and I's are typically outgoing individuals. They like to be in a crowd. They like to be in a group setting where there's a bunch of people around. So I'm going to point to Lynn over here. You came in as the poster child for the I's, okay? You like being in a crowd, right? You're comfortable in a group setting, right? Now, on the flip side, the S and the C, they're a little bit more reserved. They like to be in more of the small group settings. One-on-one is really their ideal, or even better yet, in a heavenly environment, leave me alone, right? That's what the S's and C's are really all about, right? That's like, leave me alone, right? Specifically the C, their dream job is to work in a cubicle where there is no door. Nobody can knock on it. Nobody can talk to me. Leave me alone, right? So that's one quick marker. Here's another couple. The D's and the C's are typically task-oriented. They have their to-do lists. When they show up to work in the morning, they are not there to socialize. They are there to get their stuff done. And if you stop by their office or their desk and want to talk to them, you are driving them nuts, okay? They want to just slaughter you, but they're going to be nice and smile until you leave, okay? Now, on the flip side, the I's and the S's are more people-oriented. It's not that they don't care about tasks, but they care more about the relationships that they're developing. They care more about the people in their lives. And so the I's and the S's, they'll do their to-do list, but really what they're focused on is, how's our relationship going? How am I building friendships and growing deeper within those relationships? That's really what the markers are. So Here's a few thoughts before we dive into your results. And this is important. So let me have you hang with me on these, okay? Because I had a few questions after we had our results come in. The first one that I'm going to hit on is no personality type is better than another. Your combination is your combination. They are all beautiful. They are all from God. There's none better. They're all just different. The second thing is if you had 1 or 2 or 3 letters in your personality profile, that doesn't add any value if you have more letters, and it doesn't take anything away from you if you only have 1 letter. If you only have 1 letter, what that means is you're the poster child for that particular personality type. Most of us are a blend of 2, and some people have a third. But again, it's not like you're trying to get more letters here. It's not like each one is 10 points, okay? And then the last one is this, and this one I think is very important as well. This is going to focus on your personality. It does not gauge your character, your integrity, or your maturity. So in other words, Hitler had a DiSC profile, okay? In fact, he had the same one I have, which is kind of scary, right? It's like, hopefully y'all don't look at me and see that, right? Everybody's got a personality type. How you use it is what reflects your character. What you do with it is what shows your integrity, okay? So this isn't measuring those items, but this is measuring just kind of the makeup that God's given you. So let's take a look at our Ds. Now, up here, it's kind of hard to see right now. The dominance, in fact, what I might do is just turn off the lights. That's the wrong ones. There we go. So you can see there's a circle up here on the screen. The D's are going to be in this section, and the people in our church that took the test that ended up with D as their primary score came out to be 0. None of us. None of us landed with D as our highest. Now, a few of us had D as our second highest. So you have D. I think Rick has D. I've got D. D is my second highest. D is also Kara's second highest. She's a CD. So a bunch of us have D as our second highest one. Let's take a look at what it means to be a D and why Ds are important, why we need them in our society. So here's a little bit about Ds. Who's the guy on the screen? The chef. What's his name? Hell's Kitchen? Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay. Okay. Now, when you think about a D, I want you to think about Gordon Ramsay. Now think about this. He's got some good qualities and he's got some really bad qualities, right? His really good qualities are amazing and his really bad qualities are horrible. Let's flesh out what this looks like. Ds are typically the type of people that seek control. A D is the person that'll come into a conversation where you're trying to solve a problem and they'll drive the problem solving. Even if they don't know what's going on, they'll drive the problem solving because that's just how they're wired. Ds are very commonly people that run businesses or start their own businesses. These are typically CEOs. They like to work in human resources, which is why Carl has a lot of D. Rick does some human resources type work as well. I did human resources work. They're very direct, and again, they are focused on results. Ds like to get stuff done quick and under budget, and I want my results. One of the great qualities that Gordon Ramsay has is he runs at a very efficient kitchen. I mean, I know he makes people cry too. All right, we'll get to that part. But give the man his credit. He knows how to run a kitchen. And if you were to go to one of his restaurants, you would get your food in a timely manner. It would be delicious, and everything would be in tip-top shape because that man knows how to run a tight ship. So here's a little bit more about some of their personalities. So they're driven by their authority. The fourth one down is that they're very comfortable dealing with direct confrontation. Most of us are terrified of confrontation, but the Ds actually enjoy it because it's a challenge for them. I want to win. I want to get my way. I want to show you that I'm right and I know what I'm talking about. It can actually turn into almost a game for the Ds. Yes?
Can I make a qualify on that?
Yes.
I don't like being a D. I don't want to be a D. The work and circumstances that make me.
So that's a great point. So a lot of this is nature. Some of this is nurture too, right? So you've been in a position where you have to be a D. I'm also going to pick on Terry because Terry's not in the room and I can pick on him. Terry does not have D in his profile. He does not. Well, so you would think, and he does have the ability to be a D if he needs to, like Rick is talking about, because that's military Terry, right? He knows how to get stuff done and drive results. But when you really get to know him and his personality, he's actually got a much softer side. So he, believe it or not, has the opposite of D, S in his profile and not D, okay? He's just used to putting on his D front when he has to, okay? So some of this is going to be driven by maybe your workplace or the family you grew up in. Some of this is going to be driven by the community that you grew up in. A lot of this is innate, but there will be some nuances, like you said, Rick. Their greatest fear is loss of control or failure. D's do not like to fail or fall short. They feel embarrassed when they don't get the job done. So they will always try to get the job done. Here's a few strengths. Got one at the top right. They excel in emergencies. There's a lot of studies that show, and I would be curious to hear your guys' take on this, and Charles, yours as well. Most people in a crisis situation, their brains stop working, in a sense. Their brains shut down, and everything feels like it's moving quickly, and it's kind of scary, okay? Yeah, Dana's over here having a hyperventilating just at the thought of the word crisis. Yeah, okay. For D's, scientific studies have shown that things actually slow down in a crisis, and you have this God-given ability to look at things more clearly. And when everybody else is running around with their heads on fire, you're able to look at it, size up what's wrong, and fix it real quick, right? Would you guys agree with that? Nodding heads? Okay, yeah. And I'm the same way. The worse things get, the more clear I think. So sometimes I just break things just so I can think clearly. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, that's how D's are wired. You really excel in the emergency situation. So praise God for the D's. Terry has enough D in him that when the fire happened, somebody needed to jump in front and say, we're doing this, and here's how we're building it back, and here's how we're going to handle insurance. Terry put on his D hat, and everything slowed down for him, right? As the chair of the deacons. So this is something that D's do really well. They're also very productive. These people don't like to sit still. So D's are not the type of person that you can say, hey, could we snuggle on the couch and watch a movie? They don't typically like to do that, okay? Because when they get home, their second workday starts, right? And then while you're sleeping, their third workday starts, the night shift, and then they get up and do it all over again. That's how your D's are wired. But there's a lot of good qualities. Each one also has some weaknesses. So here's some weaknesses for people that have D in them, and this is going to include me. Number one, we have a tendency to come across as very insensitive. Here's why. We like to get stuff done, and not everybody is on that same wavelength, okay? So when early on in my ministry, I would show up to work, and I had one coworker, guys, I loved them in Jesus, but they always wanted to talk, okay? And I've got D in me. I don't show up to work to socialize. I have a to-do list that's already in my head before I walk through the door. I come to work to do work. And they would grab me, and they would say, well, I made barbecue chicken last night, and I put the burner on 3 instead of 4, so it took extra time. And then I cut myself peeling the sweet potatoes. And this would just happen over and over. And they would just drone on and on about stuff that, honestly, friends, I don't care about. I just don't. Yeah. It's like, leave me alone. I want to do my job. I have emails piling up in my inbox, and you're having a conversation with me. Now what can happen is we can become too abrupt to cut it off. And what I've learned, D's, is some people need to talk, so give them a little bit of time to connect, a little bit. For those of you that like to connect too much, give them a little bit of time to connect, and then say, hey, I need to get to it, and find a way to excuse yourself politely, okay? Some people do need conversation. Number 3, down there on the right, we also have a tendency to be impatient. So this is Gordon Ramsay's big fault, right? If your food is coming out 30 seconds too late, he's going to scream at you and leave you in tears on national television, okay? He can be very insensitive that way. Another person we could have put up here, whether you like him or dislike him, is kind of irrelevant. He's got a D personality, Donald Trump, right? He's trademarked the terms, you're fired, okay? If you've trademarked that, you've got some D in you, okay? That's just in there. So that's a little bit about the D. Now, let me give you all a quick video, and I'm going to show you a movie character that exemplifies the D character. Now, this is going to be a bad guy. This is a villain, but I want you to look for both the good side of the D and the bad side of the D coming out in them, all right? All right. Darth Vader's got D in him, right? Now there's good stuff there. Does he tolerate poor productivity, poor performance? D's don't tolerate that. And you know what? Praise God for that, or else our world would be a mess, okay? We need people, D's, we need you because you make sure things get done in a timely manner and they're done well. And you push the rest of us when we would probably not do as much as we do. So thank you. The flip side of that is if you could use the force, you would probably strangle people. So be nice, okay? Sometimes, and listen, I've got D in me, so I can say it. I would like to do that too some days, okay? But we have to learn to slow down enough. It's not just about getting the job done. Sometimes it's about helping everybody get to the finish line, okay? So keep that in mind. You can't do it all yourself. You need people. Work with people as you get stuff done. Here's Jesus as a D. Remember the Samaritan woman. Jesus goes and sits at the well. And his disciples say, hey, we need to get you some food. And Jesus says, I don't have time for a lunch break. I'm here to do the work of my Father. That's something D's do. Jesus had some D in him. Okay? So D's, you bring a lot to the table. We need you. But one of the interesting things is, and you saw it on one of the earlier slides, guess what percentage of the population is D? 3%. Do you think God knew what he was doing there? If it was 70% D's, we'd all be nuking each other, okay? There'd be nuclear war every weekend, okay? God knew what he was doing, but D's, we need you. So thank you for all that you do. Who else from our church, or actually let's just broaden this up. Who else in mainstream culture, what other celebrities can you think of, or famous people that you can think of might have some D in them? You can name somebody from the church too if you would like, but you can think beyond that. Is there another famous person that we might know that has some D in them that comes to mind?
We'll talk about Lynn since he's here. He's got some D.
He does. Yes. Well, and
He's not his primary one, but he's got some D.
And fire chief, right? He wants to run some things. Absolutely. Joe Gibbs. What else do you have, Charles? Mike Krzyzewski. Absolutely. Any sports coach that drives a tight ship. So Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots, that man has a ton of D in him. He's also got a lot of C. We'll find that out later. But that man does not let you step out of line. He runs a really tight ship, okay? A lot of military leaders, because again, if the military has one particular core personality trait, it's D, right? They want to go in and get stuff done. So there's a little bit about the D's. Donna.
My first husband, everybody in here knew him. He was absolutely a D.
Okay, he had a lot of D in him. Yep.
Done right.
Yep.
He didn't take any crap here. I mean, I should have said that.
Well, no, but it's, yeah. Well, and to that, I didn't know your first husband, and I also didn't know Benny, but from everything I've heard about Benny, I don't know if it would have been his top one, but he was a doer.
You can ask Pat. You can ask Corey.
Yeah.
You can ask all these people that worked under him.
Yeah, I mean, there's,
Expected them to do.
yeah, absolutely. So that's the D personality type. Let's move on to the I's. So the I's, I'm going to use the laser pointer here. Start about right here and come down. So we have only 2 people in the church that took the test that had I as their top letter. Like I said earlier, Lynn is kind of the poster child. So if you want to think about an I, just think about her. I've got I as my top one, although I lean more in the D direction as well. Okay, so I have some D that comes through a little bit as well. Let's take a look at the I's. Who's on the screen? Okay, so when you think of an I, Think of somebody who's entertaining, somebody who's the life of the party, somebody who loves to have fun and do things that are spontaneous, someone who is just really, really a good person to be around, okay? Let me give you a little bit of info about them. They are spontaneous, they're friendly, so the eyes, they've never met a stranger. You know those people? They've just, there's friends they haven't met yet, right? That's the eye. That's how they work, okay? And they love being in the spotlight. As a result, the eyes have a tendency to do a lot of talking and a lot of storytelling. And when they tell their stories, they have a tendency to embellish their stories so they can get a bigger reaction. So the first time, yeah, Lynn, you're feeling targeted right now. Okay. So the first time they caught the fish, it was this big. The second time they tell the story, it's this big. And then the third time they tell the story, you got to get a truck to get it out of the lake, right?
Robin Williams, look at how complex he was.
Well, he was.
And look how he ended up. So was this how he was compensating for?
So,
We ain't getting that.
well, no, that is a good question. So Robin Williams, the way we think of him, is more of an I. His personality also had a lot of C, which we'll get to later, and a lot of his C and a lot of his personal hardships that ended up with him taking his life. There were a lot of complexities there. So we're not going to be able to dive into all of that necessarily, partially because I don't know the whole story. But as we think of Robin Williams, the life of the party, the entertainer, the guy who played Mrs. Doubtfire and wore a dress and makeup for an entire movie, okay? That individual is kind of the epitome of the I. And it wasn't something that he did begrudgingly. He loved it. He enjoyed getting laughs and he enjoyed entertaining people. This is like Charlie Chaplin kind of stuff, right? So they enjoy the spotlight. Here's a little bit more. They are great storytellers. Like I said, they're always animated. They like to embellish. They like to be in your face. They like to have big, moving, sweeping hand signals. That's why when I preach, I'm doing this all the time and I'm walking around because I can't stand still, people. And they love great experiences with others. So eyes, remember, they are not about the to-do list. They are all about memories. They would rather have a great time with you that they can cherish for the rest of their days than do another day's worth of work, because we work our whole lives and then we die. And the eyes look at it a different way. I should make memories before I die. That's how the eye looks at it, right? So their biggest fear is rejection or loss of approval. If you are talking with an eye and you say, you know what, I really don't like you, that devastates them. The rest of us can get over it. But for the eye, they need that approval. They need to know that they are valued and that they're appreciated and loved. Some strengths. Like I said, they're very spontaneous. Eyes can fly by the seat of their pants all day, every day. Okay? They are really good at just making it up as they go. They don't need to come up with a game plan. In fact, they hate having a game plan. So if you're the type of person that goes on vacation and you like to have an itinerary, you're going to lose the eye within the first 24 hours because they're not going to stick to your stupid itinerary. They're going to go do what they want to do, okay? If you want to plan an event with an eye, here's the extent of their planning. Well, here's a bunch of people I think we could invite. We could just have some food or something. What do you say? Maybe about, 6 or 7 or maybe 8 o'clock. And we'll just have a good time and I'll figure it out. That's all the thought they put into it, okay? They don't like putting a lot of thought into things because details don't matter to eyes, okay? Experiences matter to eyes. So, is there anybody in here? What?
Carolyn, I just made an observation. I don't think that's we do not see that in her.
You don't see that in her. So there's.
Yeah, we spend a whole lot of time with this.
Okay.
I do plan and I do care about details.
Well, so
but
you.
I do like to be the center of attention.
I was going to say, now there's. I'm not sure that you shouldn't have another letter in yours, but you don't. So either the. So I'm not sure. I would say this though, Lynn. What I've seen in you, I see a lot of I in you, and I would say this as well. I think especially during COVID and being married to Terry, who has a lot of C, I think you've probably changed some. I didn't know you pre-COVID, but you've probably changed some as a result of those two things, the pandemic and your marriage to Terry. And sometimes that brings out a different side of you. So we're gonna leave that one there. I'll let you evaluate it. So on to our next thing. Like I said, the eyes are very enthusiastic. They have a lot of things to say, and they are passionate about what they're passionate about. Okay, the eyes really don't want you to rain on their parade. Don't tell them what's going wrong. Tell them what you're excited about, because they want to be excited with you, and they want you to be excited when they're excited too. Here's some weaknesses. Typically, the eyes are disorganized. So eyes have a messy bedroom or a messy kitchen, right? Eyes, no, you have none of that. No, Lynn? Okay, I'm curious. Okay, well then you've got to have some C in you too. Okay, so eyes are typically disorganized. Eyes tend to double or triple book themselves. You know that person in your life, and then all of a sudden they just don't show up till lunch. Can you tell Catherine has just a little bit of eye over here, right? Eyes have a tendency to just not keep all the details together because they don't care about the details. Details are boring and details are constraining, and I want to just live my life and make memories and have fun, right? As a result, they have a tendency to overcommit. They also, when they make plans, have a tendency to think that they can squeeze in things that they just can't squeeze in because they look at the best case scenario, all right? So if they've got an hour between this meeting, that's why you're always late. Yes, you're thinking of the best case scenario and you forget that sometimes there's traffic on the roads, right? Like there's other things that might slow you down. Here's an example. This is going to drive those of you with C. This is going to drive you nuts. I'm just going to warn you up front, okay? Here's an example of a movie character that has some I in them. The donkey. That is the classic I and C fight right there, okay? I mean, that's your eyes to a T. Let's stay up late. Let's have a sleepover. Let's swap manly stories. And in the morning, I'm going to make waffles. That's your I to a T right there, okay? So does Jesus have any I? This is, in my opinion, friends, the funniest chapter in the entire Bible is John chapter 20. And this is right after the resurrection. And Jesus is standing there. Mary has showed up to the tomb, and you can see right here, Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" So here's Jesus. Think about this. He's standing right there. He knows that Mary is looking for him, and she's distraught because she can't find the body of Jesus, and he decides it's a great time to play a little prank. And so he talks to her, and he says, "Woman, what are you crying for?" And so she talks to him and says, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." And Jesus said to her, "Mary, it's me. Hello, don't you recognize me? I just died for you, and I just rose from the grave. It's me." And so she gives him a big hug, and Jesus says, "Stop clinging to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father, but go to my brethren." Or in other words, Mary was giving him such a big hug, such a hard hug, that he's like, "Lady, get off of me. I've already died. I don't want to die again. Okay? Like, leave me alone. Stop hugging me so hard." And the whole time, you would think Jesus would have this, "Hello, Mary. I can now offer you the forgiveness of sins," or something like that. Like, you would think it would be this reverent, holy moment. And Jesus actually decides to pretend to be the gardener in a sense and kind of play a little bit of a prank, have some fun with Mary, his close friend. Okay? So Jesus had some I in him as well. Now, here's our S personalities. There's a lot of S in this church. So you can't really see it, but the S is right down here in your graphics. So Charles is going to be the red dot right here. He's got some SDC, which is called examiner. Lynn has S. He's kind of the poster child for S, but then he's also got a D, what we call a D streak in him, which is really a unique thing that enables him to act out as a D, doing things like taking over the fire department. Most of us are SIs, and so you can see there's quite a few harmonizers. Karen, Gwen, Corey, and Dana, Annette, Catherine, Brenda, and Ricky all had SI. So you've got some of this I in you. You're a little bit like that donkey, but you're also going to be, I'm just kidding. But you also have some S. We also have Wendy as an SC, and then Carl and Rick have SD in them. Now, here's what I want to point out about Carl and Rick, because would we all agree that they are somewhat different personalities? Okay, so how did they end up with the same profile? Well, S and D are opposite ends of the spectrum. Okay, so if you're thinking about the circle, let me come back to it here. D is all the way up here, and S is all the way down here. They are polar opposites. Typically, when you have that, and some of you had this in the other side, you had I and C in your profile. What happens is typically you work your way back and forth using a different route. So Rick works his way back and forth from S and D by heading over the I direction. That's why he can wing it with his children's sermons sometimes, okay? That's why he can just make things up on the spot. Carl, on the other hand, it's not that he doesn't have some I in him, but he typically makes that journey back and forth using the C side of him. That's why they come across different ways, okay? So when you have opposites, what you need to look for is, how do I journey back and forth? Because there's no shortcuts. You have to go around the circle somehow, okay? So let's talk about a big portion of our church. Let's talk about the S's. Who's up on the screen? Mother Teresa. S's are very commonly others focused. They are servant-hearted people. They are big helpers. They are very team-oriented, and they will bend over backwards to help you do what you need to do and to make your life better. They are really good with loyalty and acceptance. A couple of other things for them: they're great listeners. So if you need to dump or vent to somebody, most of the time you pick an S, because the S's are the people that care enough to keep listening after you've gone over the 5-minute mark, okay? And so S's are really good listeners. They're compassionate. They'll cry with you. They will give you a hug if you need one. They're very merciful and forgiving, and their greatest fear is conflict. So we saw the opposite of the S, the D's. They don't enjoy conflict, but they're okay in conflict. S's are terrified of conflict. In fact, studies have shown that if you're an S and somebody comes up to you, gets in your face and starts talking to you, your brain literally starts to shut down. Everything short circuits and you shut off, okay? S's are terrified of this because you're so loving and loyal and accepting of others. You just want other people to be loving and loyal and accepting of you also. That's the way the S is kind of wired. Why can't we all just get along? That's kind of the tagline for the S, okay? So here's a couple of strengths for you. Number one, they are great team players. They are really good at helping out. If there's somebody who's lagging behind or struggling to keep up, they'll fall back and help them and make sure that they don't keep holding back the team. They're really good at serving and looking out for ways to help. Most S's, you're going to find this, most S's, when you get to the spiritual gifts, serving and mercy are somewhere in their top 5. That's typical. When you look at the D's are opposite. Serving and mercy are typically on the lower end. In fact, mercy is my dead last one. I think, Carl, it was your dead last too, right? I think, Terry, it was the second last, right? D's are not good mercy people. We are not forgiving. We're Gordon Ramsay. You're fired, okay? Whereas the S's look at it and say, well, you tried hard. Maybe we can train you some more. We'll give you another chance, even though you've had 3 million chances, okay? And so S's are a little bit more willing to work with a person. They don't mind walking through life with somebody who maybe other people would give up on. And like I said, they are great listeners. Now, here's some weaknesses. First and foremost, they're not always direct. You have to, when an S has a problem, you have to drag it out of them, okay? You have to ask them questions. It looks like you're sad. Why are there tissues in the trash can? Did you have a bad day today? Okay, let's pull down the pictures off the wall, and I'm going to point to people, and you just nod your head when I get to the one who hurt you, right? And you have to kind of drag it out of them a little bit, because they aren't going to come up and just tell you, I'm ticked off and angry at you. They're not going to get in your face because they're scared of conflict. They don't like that. As a result, because they don't like conflict, if you go up to them and say, I need you to do this, and they have no time on their schedule to do it, they're going to say yes anyway. They have a really hard time saying no because they want to be helpful. They want to serve you. And so even when you are just overloading them with stuff, if you go to them and say, I need this done, and you really don't have a choice, they'll say, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do the best I can. And then they will be freaking out as soon as the conversation's over because they realize they are not going to get to sleep that night, okay? That's how the S is wired. They have a hard time saying no. Now, a classic S character is it's not Woody, it's somebody else in this scene. There it is. That was it right there. I don't like confrontation. Get me out of this. You guys sort it out, and whether you let Woody live or whether you hang him, I just don't want to be a part of it. This is tense, and I hate it, okay? That's the S. Now, Jesus has an S. Remember the woman caught in adultery. This is a beautiful quality, brothers and sisters. It's a good thing that this is a quality that's very predominant in our church. It's a great quality to have. He who is without sin among you, let him be the first to cast a stone at her. Listen, when you look at the culture of our church, we are the kind of church that is very servant-hearted, and we will take in people and work with people that other churches would get annoyed with and give up on. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing, okay? So let's not lose this quality. The other qualities are good too. I'm not saying they're not, but this is a beautiful quality to have. It's at the heart of God. Jesus does this with us, right? We sin over and over and over again, and he's compassionate. He's gracious. He's a merciful high priest. Here's our C personalities. So again, on our screen, your C's are going to be down here. We have quite a few. So Dina and Faye are both what we call technicians. Both of them ended up being right on the line with another one. You guys were both right on the line with being a CDS. So you guys were very close to a different one, but you ended up being a CIS or a technician. Kara is over here as an analyzer. And then there were many of us, again, there's a lot of S in the church. You could see even with the subcategories here. A lot of us hit the formalist tag with Jennifer, Susan, Debbie, and Terry. So here's a little bit about the C. Who do we have on the screen this time? Not everybody likes this guy, I know. Elon Musk. Okay, now he's a controversial figure, but give the man his credit. He is genius level smart, right? If there's one personality profile that tends towards genius, it's the C. Einstein, all C. Okay? Bill Gates, all C. Steve Jobs had a lot of D in him, but he was all C. Right? If you look at some of these people that are able to figure out tech stuff and move the world forward, Tesla, a lot of C in him. Isaac Newton, a lot of C. Those types of individuals, if you even have in your brain that you think it's possible to put people on Mars so that they can live there, you've got C in you, okay? That's kind of the idea here. Now, they're compliant, they're very analytical, they're very detail-oriented, and they're very accurate, precise individuals, okay? So that's something about the C's. What's that? You're always right. Well, actually, that's something that people say about the C's. So I'll give you an example with my wife, with Kara. She's got a lot of C. If I have a question, I go to Kara. If she doesn't know, she'll get me the right answer, and I don't have to worry because I'll get to the wrong answer somehow. I got I in me. I don't care about the details, right? So if you want to know something, most of the time you go and you ask a C because they've got the information or they know where to go and get it. Now, their greatest fear is being wrong or of being criticized. If their work is criticized as being not up to par, they feel like you're taking a personal shot at them. And here's why. C's typically tie their work with their integrity. The way a C thinks is this: I do good work because that's the kind of person I am. And only a sloppy person with low character does bad work. That's the way a C typically thinks. So if they go to a restaurant and get poor wait service, they think less of the waiter. If they go to the grocery store and somebody's just done a terrible job of stocking the shelves, they think less of that person stocking the shelves because their poor work is a reflection of who they are. And for C's, they take their character so seriously, they will do whatever it takes to be right. I'll give you an example of this. I recently had lunch with Charles, maybe, I don't know, a few weeks ago at this point. One of the things that kind of tipped me off that Charles had some C in him was the way he talked. You've probably seen some C's do this, okay? Now, this is a compliment, okay? When Charles, in the course of conversation, would talk with me, there were numerous times where he would kind of look up and you could tell he was searching for the perfect word. Have you seen somebody do that? Charles does that a lot, and it's because, Debbie does that, and it's because they want to be so precise, so accurate with their words. They don't want to be sloppy, even in the way they talk, whereas somebody like me, what is it? Senility? Oh, gosh. I'll never bring you up again, Charles. I'm sorry. But, yeah. But seriously, when you talk with people and you can tell they want to get the exact right words, that's somebody with C in them because they care so much, they don't want to even say a single word out of place. So here's a couple of strengths. Like I said, they do very good, high-quality work, and they're excellent planners. So if you want to put together an event, talk to a C. If you want to come up with a grocery list, talk to a C. If you want to plan a vacation where every minute is spent to the max, talk to a C. C's know how to get stuff done, and they are great at planning, and they're great at organizing, and they're great at research. This is the way their minds work. They want data and information and facts, and they don't care if there's a person nearby. They don't want people nearby. They want to be on their computer looking something up, or on their phone, or in a book reading something so they can learn a little bit more and know a little bit more, so they can be right a little bit more, right? They also do high quality work. Just a little bit. So here's some weaknesses. Like I said, C's have a tendency to be critical because they view sloppy work as sloppy character, okay? And they don't give people the benefit of the doubt that maybe they're having a bad day or they're going through a difficult time, or maybe they got called away from stocking the shelves and so they didn't get a chance to finish because they had to hop on a register. They don't typically give people the benefit of the doubt, and so C's can have a tendency to come across as critical or kind of judgmental and condescending. As a result, because they care so much about getting things right, they can also be perfectionists. So C's, you have a tendency to be really hard on yourselves too. If you got a 98 on a test, you were hard on yourself because you should have got that one question right. You were thrilled with that, right? Well, so Kara, for example, Kara got her master's a few years ago in counseling. She got a 3.98, 3.96 GPA or something like that. One person gave her an 89 in the class, so she got one B. And you know what? She still talks about that. It bothers her that much because she wanted that perfect 4.0. That meant something to her. Where I'm more like you, Susan, where I'm like, I got a diploma. I get to put something on the wall. You know, I'm just thrilled about that. So there's.
And one thing about reflection that I found myself is we're afraid to try something because we're afraid we won't be perfect.
That's very true.
I was really bad at sports my whole life. And there are so many times when I think back now, I wish I had tried to do that or that, but I wouldn't do it because I knew I wasn't going to be perfect.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So Debbie's saying sometimes C's can hold back from trying different things because they're not the expert at it right away, right? They're not going to master it right away. So whereas the opposite side, the I's are like, hey, I got to try a new thing. I got a new experience. The C's are looking at it and thinking, well, how will I do with this? How will this reflect on me, right? So that's that opposite's coming in there. So here's a little bit of a C for you from my wife's favorite movie, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone or something like that. I forget the name of it. But anyway, here's Hermione Granger, full C. Okay, so here's the idea. In that movie, if you've ever seen it, that's the key part of the movie because she found the information that unlocked the mystery that they were trying to solve, okay? They had a problem. They needed some information. They went to their C. Here's Jesus as a C. John chapter 2, cleansing the temple. His Father's house is a place of worship, not a place of business. And they were doing the wrong things in his Father's house. They weren't doing things right. They were doing things wrong. So Jesus comes in, runs them out with a whip and says, get out of here. Stop making my Father's house a place of business. He wanted them to do things the right way. Make this a place of worship again. Stop toying around here because your sloppy worship shows that you have sloppy character, right? So Jesus had some C as well. Now, we're going to wrap up with a little game, okay? And it's time for Guess That Lion King's DiSC style, okay? So here's what we're going to do. How many of you have seen the live-action Lion King? Not many of you. Okay, so they made a new Lion King movie, same plot, with CGI, and they've updated all of the characters and all of that. I mean, you still have Simba and Timon and Pumbaa, but they look different a little bit. And so we're gonna look at a clip of different Lion King characters, and your job at your table is to figure out what is their DiSC style. Okay, so let me give you the first one here. We're gonna take a look at Timon and Pumbaa. Timon and Pumbaa. What do you think their DiSC style would be? Here's a little clip. The very next second, a lion jumps out to get them. So, what do you think? At your tables, talk about it for a second. What do you think? Has everybody got their answer already? What would you say their DiSC style is? Somebody help me out. Somebody's got an eye? Any other answers? Okay, it's an eye all day. All day. In fact, do you want to know what was fascinating? I was watching y'all as we're listening to it. So the eyes couldn't sit still. Lynn was over here just like, big smile on her face, just going to town. And the C's in the room were like, Lord, shoot me. When is this going to end? I hate this, okay? I don't like this. Why are there animals dancing, okay? And so that's some of the difference there. So Timon and Pumbaa are eyes. What about Mufasa in this scene?
deliberately disobeyed me.
I know.
You could have been killed. And what's worse, you put Nala in danger. Do you understand what's at stake? You jeopardized the future of our pride.
I just wanted to show you I could do it. That I could be brave like you.
I can be brave when I have to be, when there's no other choice.
But you're not scared of anything.
I was today.
You were?
Yes. I thought I might lose you.
All right, what about Mufasa? What do you think? Yeah, there's a lot of D here. Now, as you're watching this, D's are sitting there most likely thinking, okay, I would have that conversation. That's one you have to have with your kid. And the S's are likely watching it more through the lens of Simba. I would hate that conversation with my dad, right? I would hate that conflict. And so you're probably focusing on different characters depending on your DiSC style, but you're right. Mufasa is absolutely a D. So this next one, you're going to do 2. Okay, there's 2 characters in this scene. Simba, grown up, and Nala, grown up. I want you to try to nail both of them in this interaction.
I told you. Isn't it great here? You know, maybe it could be like this forever.
It's amazing. But there's something I don't understand. If you've been alive all this time, why haven't you come home? We've really needed you.
They're fine, all right? Nobody needs me.
You're the king.
Now, Scar is the king.
Simba, he's decimated the Pride Lands. There's no food, no water.
There's nothing I can do.
What about your mother? This is your responsibility. You need to challenge Scar.
I can't go back. Ever.
Why? Because of what happened in the gorge? Scar told us that.
You wouldn't understand. None of it matters, okay? Hakuna Matata.
What?
It's something I learned out here, okay? You see, sometimes bad things happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. So why worry?
Why worry? What happened to you? You're not the Simba I remember.
And I never will be. Are you satisfied?
No, I'm disappointed.
You know, now you're starting to sound like my father.
Good. I'm glad one of us does.
You have no idea what I've been through.
All right, let's start with Nala. So these 2 are a little bit tougher. Where would you put Nala? Any other thoughts? S? Okay, there's a lot of S. There's some C.
I think Simba's S, because he didn't in front of him.
Okay, so Rick's saying that Simba might be the S. Okay. Okay, so Jimmy's got it right here. So Nala's coming at it from a C standpoint. She's willing to be the initiator of conflict here. And the reason she's initiating conflict is because Simba isn't doing the right thing. He's not challenging Scar. He's not going back and claiming the Pride Lands. And because he's not doing what he's supposed to do, she's frustrated with him. Okay? Now, on the flip side of that, you guys nailed it. Simba is the, I don't want to be in this conversation, leave me alone. And then he finally lashes out at the end, and S's, this is something we have a tendency to do. When you're in conflict, eventually what happens is you get so frustrated that you lash out just trying to end it. You have no idea what I've been through. Leave me alone, right? I've had a terrible day. Why are you doing this? And what can happen in conflict is S's shut down, and then they lash out so that they can finally get out of it. Okay? They're just trying to escape the conversation. That's exactly what Simba does. We're going to do one more, kind of a bonus round. What about Zazu in this interaction?
Life's not fair, is it, my little friend? While some are born to feast, others spend their lives in the dark, begging for scraps. The way I see it, you and I are exactly the same. We both want to find a way out.
The King approaches! This is not a drill!
answer to Mufasa for missing the ceremony this morning?
I answered no.
Scar? Scar, no, don't do like that.
Are you hungry, Zazu?
Perhaps
We could have a bite together.
God, it is footwear. It's a member of a king's court.
What do you guys think there? What about Zazu? Some C, what did you say? D. D, okay. What else do you think? Give me one more thought. How many of you think D? Okay, a couple of you. How many of you would say more C? Okay, a handful of people say C. Okay, I would say Zazu is a C here. Okay, now he's not. Now remember, when you see conflict, C's are not necessarily afraid to start conflict when they see somebody's doing something wrong. So what did Scar do wrong? He didn't show up to the presentation of Simba, right? He played hooky, okay? So Zazu's saying, you've got to answer to Mufasa for this. And when Scar's about to eat him, what does he say? You can't eat me. It's forbidden. He doesn't run away. He stays and argues with Scar about what the right thing to do is, right? He doesn't. I would run, but no, he's like, actually, I'm right, and you need to listen to me, Scar, okay? And he's about to get himself eaten if Mufasa doesn't show up. That's a C right there, okay? So here's how I want us to wrap up. You guys did a great job with all those. Here's the last thing I want you to consider for a little bit at your tables. I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes to do this, okay? How can what we learned tonight, how can you use that in your marriage, in your workplace, with your family, in relationships that maybe are a little strained right now? How can you use some of this information to love others better? How can you use this information to serve one another and reach out to them more effectively? So have that conversation at your table. If somebody's coming at it from a different angle than you, and that's why there's conflict, because you're a C and they're an I, or you're a D and they're an S, how can you serve them in light of what you now understand perhaps about them? Okay? Couple of minutes at your tables. I'll get the lights back on, and then we'll debrief. Okay, my friends, I'm gonna pull us back here. You guys are in some good conversations. Feel free to carry those on later, perhaps. But what are a couple of things that came up at your table? What did you kind of flesh out in the couple minutes I gave you there?
They were all different. We all have different personalities, but they're all needed.
They're all needed. Everybody adds value here, right? Everybody's needed. And there's no bad personality that only brings something bad to the table, right? Yeah, absolutely. What else? Okay.
Like you said about the S's, our church is good about, getting people from other churches, maybe they've been rejected or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Now, it's fascinating because that's been good, and it's stretched me in some ways because I don't have a lot of S. And so the church has a personality that I don't have, right? And that's been very humbling for me. In fact, I had to apologize to Faye the other day because, oh gosh, I don't remember if it was Monday or last Wednesday, but so there's a lot of S. We're helpers, we're servant-hearted people here at the church. Well, Faye, after we were wrapping up an event, was like, "Hey, should I vacuum?" And I was like, "Oh no, Faye, I'll get it because I'm a D. It just went onto my to-do list. That was easy. I'll take care of it tomorrow." And I stole Faye's opportunity to serve. I robbed her of her opportunity to do the things she loves to do. And so then I saw her at Palm Sunday. She was sweeping on vacuuming on the stage. And then I found out from Melissa and Kimberly that she lives to vacuum. And I'm like, oh boy, now I really need to apologize. I have put my foot in my mouth this time, right? So that's been good for me, Dana, because I've had to grow in areas where you're already strong, and you're challenging me. You're helping sanctify me in that way. Yeah. What else? Karen.
This is kind of related. I'm bad about maybe not sharing something that I need prayer for because I don't want attention on me.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
I learned from Benny. He wanted to do something for me when Scott was at the
Okay.
And then you only have a few days left. And he said, you better let me do this, don't take that blessing from me.
Yeah.
And him and Daddy drove all the way to my daughter's house to get her truck and bring it.
Wow.
Because I've got my cousin to bring by me. I didn't want her to drive, and I wanted Scott been airlifted.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So because I have a hard time asking for help, but Benny Hillier taught me that, and I try to say now, thank you very much, yes, I will accept it.
Amen. Yes. And that's something I've got to learn too. Yeah. Don't block other people's.
Yep, don't take that blessing away.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good.
I always say thank you when someone does something for you instead of saying you shouldn't have.
Yes. Yes.
Never do that.
And I'm bad at that, so call me on it. I mean it. You can call me on that. What did you?
It's something that how you are, even in marriages, and then a lot of times are the opposite, but that's why you're together.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You're made more as one.
Yeah.
And then you think about in a church, you need all kinds
Yes, you do.
to make it as one.
Yeah. It's all members of the body, right? Any other thoughts?
It helps to not try to put round pegs in square boxes.
Amen. Amen. So if we're, I'll just talk to the deacons for a second. We have some deacons that are S's. Is it a good idea to make the deacons that are S's be the first person to have those confrontational talks? Maybe if we want to stretch them a little bit, but that's not where they're naturally gifted. They're servants, right? So to your point, let's not ask people to do stuff that would literally shut their brain down. Let's help put people in positions where they can thrive. Amen. Yeah. Let me tell you a quick story as we wrap up. Did you have something, Donna?
Well, I was just going to say, if anybody ever, I love people. Everybody that really knows me knows that about me.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been a stranger. I had run a beauty salon for 43 years and deal with women day in and day out. And
A C would have died. A C would have died. Yeah. Yeah.
I tell you, once it came to, I mean, we laughed, didn't we, women? I mean, I tried to uplift everyone.
Right.
And we would laugh, pray with some of them, and sometimes it was too much information.
Well,
But,
yeah.
but I'm just saying, I am definitely a people person.
Yeah, you've got a lot of eye in you. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good quality. Yeah.
You asked us how to do that.
Yeah.
Knowing we have all of this
Yes.
going on.
Yeah.
And I made a comment that really and truly the only way we can do it is depending on the Lord.
Yes.
And seeking His help in every situation.
Yeah.
I mean.
That's it.
And He can make us react how we need to react and tolerate what we need to tolerate and remember that we haven't walked in that person's shoes, so we don't know
Yeah.
what that person's going through or has been through.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. Yeah. We need God's guidance in this. Parents, if you've had more than one kid, can you see how your kids' personalities might be different? Oh boy. And maybe raising your kids is simple and complicated at the same time because you need to be consistent but treat them differently at the same time, right? That's the challenge. Husbands and wives, can you see how maybe you're opposites or the same? Most people either marry the same personality or the far opposite, one or the other, okay? Kara and I are pretty much exact opposites, okay? And early on in our marriage, I did not know any of this information. I knew none of this. All I knew was that I had a wife who corrected the way I put dishes in the dishwasher because she's a C. I didn't do it right. Yeah, you do that too? Okay, I'll talk to Ed. We'll start as...
No, he doesn't know I do it.
Oh. Wow, that is... Debbie's a sneaky C. All I knew was I had a wife who would comment when I got home at 5:05 instead of 5 o'clock like I told her I would. All I knew, and listen, friends, there were instance after instance where I took Kara the wrong way because I didn't know where she was coming from. She wasn't getting on my case and telling me how stupid I was when I loaded the dishwasher. She was showing me a better way because she's a C, and she has the best way to do everything because she's always right all the time, and she's done her research, and she could give you a PDF printout of it if you wanted, okay? Right? Listen, here's what happened. In our marriage, the first couple of years, very, very, very rocky. A lot of arguing. A lot of fighting because I didn't know where she was coming from and I would just get ticked off, okay? I didn't understand where she was coming from and I thought the differences between us were bad things instead of looking at it and thinking, wow, my wife cares about how the dishwasher's loaded. She cares about a lot of details I don't care about. And I'm over here, Mr. I've never met a detail that's my friend, okay? And so when I learned that, when I slowed down enough to pause and say, wait a minute, my wife is good. Her personality isn't obnoxious and annoying. It's actually great. And I can trust her. And she can be someone I can confide in and somebody I can go to for answers and somebody I can look to for help. She knows efficient ways to do things. All of a sudden, it changed the way I looked at her when I did this. My prayer tonight, friends, is that that person in your life, and it might be your spouse like it was for me, it might be a child that you've always butted heads with. It may be a coworker or a neighbor. But that person in your life that you seem to just butt heads with a lot, my prayer is this: look at their personality, try to sum them up, and look at them differently. What is the good that they bring to the table, even though it comes out in a way that rubs you the wrong way? And look for that good in them. Look for the beauty of the way God designed their personality because it's in there. You just don't like how it comes out, okay? And try to love them in light of who you now know them to be. Learning some of this has revolutionized my marriage in a big way. Learning some of this has completely changed the way I parent. Because when you learn how a person is wired, you can learn how to interact with them. When I talk with Lynn, I'm focused more on how are you doing, what's going on in your life, let's make memories, let's have a good time. When I talk with somebody like Faye, I know Faye wants details more. Let's get down to business sometimes, right? When I talk with each of you, I know your personalities when I come into the conversation, so it's easier for me to interact with you in light of what I know you're already expecting from the talk. It's easier to love you in light of that. So let's go from here and let's love one another in light of the new information you have. And next week, we're going to hop back into our workbooks and we're going to start examining the spiritual gifts and how all of this applies to the way your gifts come out in your life. And that's going to be a lot of fun as we go through the rest of the series. Okay? You guys did great tonight. Can I have Ricky Young? Could you close us in prayer, sir? Thank you, my friend.